I've always been interested with audience etiquette at plays these days. You go to a play and there's people talking or doing cellular telephone calls.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of unusual interruptions have you had while on stage that have thrown you?
Oh, well, I've had two wonderful interruptions. Actually, less from the audience. I was doing a play in London once, and one of my fellow colleagues in the cast was sitting like you are, but in a rocking chair, and he used to kind of rock forwards and backwards, and I forget exactly why, but this used to be funny. Used to get a lot of laughs, and so he kept rocking forwards and backwards more. And then one night he rocked so far, he rocked over backwards into the audience. And was knocked unconscious right in the middle of the play. I mean, I'm laughing. It was terribly tragic, and so I had to do that. I had to do that cliche thing of stopping the play, walking forward, and saying, "Is there a doctor in the house? Because we need one." The only other major interruption I've ever had was when all the electricity in the theatre failed, so everyone was plunged into absolute darkness, and so I had to make a kind of joke and tell them to go take a break.
You know, I've always been fascinated when actors go on location. You've filmed films all over the world. How recognizable were you in Czechoslovakia?
Ever since I did the Bond movies, I've been recognizable everywhere in the world. I once went to do a documentary about wolves, which was a project of mine some years ago, and flew up to one of the most deserted, remote Eskimo villages in the world, and the whole village came out onto the ice runway saying, "James Bond, James Bond, James Bond." So ever since then, yeah, I guess I have been recognizable.
And I got a question about autograph hunters. These days, there's like a new breed of person who goes out and gets autographs. I'm sure if a fan comes up to you, you're glad to sign it. But when you see some guy with 10 Bond pictures to sign, are you a little suspicious of that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's true. You know, I heard a great story about, I think that people unfortunately have to be nameless. Because I asked one of these guys, I said, you know, come on, I've given you an autograph yesterday, I gave you an autograph today, you're here every day with a whole bunch of these things. Why? I mean, what do you do with these? He said, well, you know, and then he, fortunately didn't mention me, but you could say, he said, well, I swap them, you see. I can swap 10 of so-and-sos for one of so-and-so else's. You know, you think, well, come on, this is a business. This isn't fans, this is a business. But, you know, as long as they like it, and as long as they like the movies, I'm happy.
Okay. And one quick final question. It was so nice to see you do a comedy. Has there been some reluctance from people to cast you in a comedy?
Oh, I thought you were going to say from me. No, I mean, I've longed to do comedies. I've done a lot of comedies in the theatre. I've done a couple of comedies in movies, Rocketeer and Hogs. I think sometimes, you know, you get stuck with people's preconceptions of you. Most of the movies I've done are dramas, so people think of you doing dramas. I mean, I was so delighted to have been offered this. I jumped at it. And I love doing it. It's a very funny movie, and it's moving, and it makes you feel good, and I had a ball doing it. More comedies, the better.